All right, coming up at 2:07 today is Senator Bill Seitz in the studio. But until then, Chris Smitherman, the president of the NAACP. Why haven't we met before this?
Well, Bill, I appreciated the GETA meeting. So over at the Bob Evans. And our good friend Chris Finney got us together, my lawyer for the Cincinnati NAACP, and I appreciated it, and I enjoyed our meeting. So here I am.
What was your impression of me before we met?
That this wasn't all about entertainment. That you can be as wild and out there, probably as sometimes I can be. So.
Aren't you?
No, I mean, on my politics, I have to tell you, Bill, I'm quite serious about that. But what I can say is I'm a straight shooter. I'm the kind of person that if this is how I think about an issue, or this is where I am on an issue, that's where I am. And I don't mind projecting that and saying, and we were talking off air, a lot of people aren't willing to do that. They're not willing to put their positions out there. So you never know where they are. So at least at the bare minimum, you know where I am.
Some of the things we talked about at the GETA Summit at Bob Evans involved things that I find myself and you and I are in agreement, which I thought was, I didn't think you and I would agree on almost anything. But I have found out that you do not believe the streetcar should go up and down Vine Street, $150 million when we have other needs.
The streetcar is a terrible idea. It really reminds me, Bill, of the stadium deal, that we have. And
did you support that, by the way?
No.
Now, I'm not sure I did either. I'm going back to check the tapes. I'm not sure I did.
No. I think the stadium deal was one of the biggest fleecings of Hamilton County taxpayers in the history of Hamilton County. The streetcar is, they're saying it's $125 million. It's 6 or 7 miles of track. Now, you and I know that the politicians' projections on what it's going to cost are going to be off, right?
Significantly.
Significantly. So we think the number is about 200 to 250 million. We think that's where they're going to fall. And they're saying that this streetcar is going to save the city. Now, we're facing a pension that was just unveiled 2 days ago. That's in crisis. We're facing a $60-70 million deficit again this year. People are leaving the city of Cincinnati. It's not the time to take that kind of an investment.
Why can't you talk to your guy, Mark Mallory? Didn't you help put him in office?
No. I can't take credit for that. So,
you sure? 6 years ago, you didn't support him.
Well, the Cincinnati NAACP, we don't take any positions.
Well, how about Smitherman?
Smitherman, for what? You're talking about for mayor?
For mayor.
I would say yes. I would say on his first term running, I would say yes, I did.
You didn't support him this time when he ran?
No.
And he's done anyway. He can't do it again. But is there a way to stop it? Because you and Finney talk about getting it on the ballot. It was on the ballot. You put something on the ballot. It got voted down.
Yep.
And he says he's breaking ground in March, and they're going to start spending money.
Bill, people think that we can't do this again because it's all about breaking ground. We're focused on the operating of the streetcar, not the capital money. So if the governor, if Kasich comes down and gives them another $53 million, which I
don't see that happening.
Isn't that your great American?
Yeah,
Can't you call Kasich?
I could. Yeah. I got his cell phone. I could call him.
And suggest to him to not send that $53 million.
You know what I have?
You've done that?
I said, John, he said, call me governor. I said, John, don't send $50 million to Mark Mallory. He said he's going to look at it. He said he'll cut it at least in half. I said, that's cutting a baby in half. The baby's going to die anyway. Don't send him any money.
So what do you think Mayor Mallory will do if he doesn't get the $53 million?
He's got Joe Biden. He's meeting with Biden. He met with Biden 2 weeks ago, and Biden's going to get it out of Department of Transportation.
This has got to be, in my opinion, one of the worst ideas. That's why we're out collecting signatures. We're gonna collect about 20,000 signatures at the end to put this issue on the ballot. So you have to know I'm very passionate and I'm against it if we're out there organizing, trying to collect that many signatures. The other side says that Obama wants the streetcar. We heard that yesterday. I don't think Obama has any opinion at all about the streetcar in downtown Cincinnati.
He's the kind of guy that would like that, though.
I don't know about that.
I
don't know about that. I don't know. That might be a part of our.
That's one of your guys. You might
maybe
get hold of your guy. You're going to support him, aren't you? You voted for that guy. So I'll work the Kasich angle if you work the Obama angle. How about that?
Hey, listen, you can better believe that I will be supporting Obama in 2012. We'll be on the other side of the football.
Do you think he's done a good job as our president?
I think he has done an outstanding job as president.
Oh, my.
Not even just a good job, an outstanding job.
So you think the budget, you think the Middle East?
Well, he didn't create the budget. You got to put that on Bush and the Republicans.
Yeah, his budget, though, has been $1.5 trillion. It's his budget now. You have to quit blaming Bush delusional syndrome. You got to take responsibility. And Obama's not taking responsibility for his budget.
Now, what I'm saying to you is that he inherited a mess. Can we agree to that?
Oh, absolutely. Kind of like Reagan from Carter inherited a mess.
Okay, so he inherited a mess. And in order to fix that mess, he spent some money.
He goes deeper.
But the market
makes more of a mess.
But the market is gone from 6,500 to 12,000, and he's got no credit.
Of course not. You know why?
Why?
Because you corporate types are doing good.
I'm the corporate type.
You're corporate types.
Listen to this.
The common man right here. I'm telling you now, you corporate types are doing good. Big corporate America is doing great. Obama's looking after Wall Street. He's looking after his friends and the S&P 500. People like me in the ditches are the ones that are hurting. So you corporate types are good.
Now you all heard that Bill Cunningham is in the ditch.
Right.
I don't know about that.
You have to concede the market's up because the big companies are doing great. It's the common guys getting hurt. If this was under Ronald Reagan, Chris, you'd be going nuts.
No.
Oh,
no.
yeah, you
no,
would
I'm much
be.
more. No, my politics around money are quite conservative. But I'm going to say this: is there anything that you think Obama has done well? That's just dead silence. You think he's done bad on everything? You can't find one good thing to say about our president?
He even shot 37 in bowling. That's how bad he is.
Oh, come on.
A bowler that shoots 37 is awful. Let me think. You know what he's done? He's continued the Bush policy in Gitmo, which I support. He's continued the Bush policy in Iraq, which I support. He's continued, in fact, he's doubled down the Bush policy in Afghanistan. So I support that. He also continues to do Bush's renditions of terrorists to foreign countries to be tortured to find out what they know. I support Obama on Gitmo, rendition, Iraq, and Afghanistan. He's done those things right.
I think that his work around health care was right.
I think
pre-existing conditions was a very important thing for people.
I
don't fully agree with all of the mandates within the health care plan, but conceptually making sure that people who are adult children still have an opportunity to stay on their parents' health care plan.
Sounds good, but someone pays. You know who pays for that? Everyone else that has insurance premiums. And so, like in California, because of these mandates from Washington, insurance companies have premiums going up 59%, and they're cutting people off. Mm-hmm. And small employers are dumping their employees. Why? Because of mandates under Obamacare. Mm-hmm. So it's a law of unintended consequences, Chris.
The entitlement programs that I see from corporate America are very rarely talked about, Bill. You know,
that's your Obama again. I worry about common guys.
No, I'm talking about like let's bring it back to City Hall. I mean, the tax abatements, the loopholes and not taxing exercise stock options. I mean, there's a lot of money that corporations benefit from that are not called entitlements that I think are entitlements. Now we're moving away from what was it, Geta?
Yeah,
you kept
the Geta Summit.
The Geta Summit. You kept asking the waitress for Geta. She seemed to not know what Geta was.
Bob Evans doesn't have Geta.
That's right.
I said, I'm here at well, let's take a break, and you understand about radio. Smitherman on the mic. You understand about radio.
Right.
We got to take a break, but once again, if you go to 700WLW.com, it's on the webcam. You can watch it. But Smitherman and I agree that when Obama continues Bush's policies in Gitmo, on rendition, Iraq and Afghanistan, Obama's doing the right thing. So we like it when he does those things about those Bush issues. So let's continue with more. 513-749-7000. If you have a question for Chris Smitherman, who represents, I think, an elite corporate structure that I often fight against. He's looking like a corporate type. He loves the stock market being high. I worry about unemployment, food costs, gasoline. Smitherman likes dividends. He likes stocks. And I worry about middle-class jobs. 513-749-7000 or pound 700 on the new AT&T. And if you're listening around the country, 1-800-843-2441. When have you had a chance to ask Chris Smitherman a question? Now's your chance. When do you have a chance to see Chris and I together on the webcam? Now's your chance. 700 WLW. Let's continue, and I'll spend a moment or two more with Chris. We have calls from Maineville, Harrison, Mason, Wilmington, Missouri, and all places in between. So that's good. Chris Smitherman is here from the NAACP. And one quick question before I turn you over to the American people. Are you going to run for city council?
I'm considering running for council and running for mayor. So my desire one day is to be the mayor of the city of Cincinnati. That's not hidden for me. But I think we talked about this. My father went through a very serious ailment. It kind of took me out of the political arena for a while. So I am seriously considering running for council this November.
Can I talk with you frankly about the last time you were on council?
Of course you can, as long as I can respond frankly.
Sure you can. I hadn't met you. In fact, I just met you about a month ago, right?
Yeah.
Never. Just as a person, and I'm here and you're there. I mean, 9% of my listeners are in the city of Cincinnati. 91% don't live in the city, but we consider ourselves Cincinnatians because when I travel, I don't say I'm from Sycamore Township. I say I'm from Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. So, and we have, most of our listeners are outside that little puddle of Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. When you ran the last time, there was a perception you were going to be pro-business, a bright, articulate spokesman for middle-class Americans. As soon as you got in fact, the day you were elected, you had some slam against the cops. I forget that night. You were on TV, and I watched down the Board of Elections, and you said something. And at that point, 7-8 years ago, cops were a big issue. They're not so big of an issue now for all kinds of reasons. But there was a sense you became radical, that you campaigned as a normal guy. And then once you got into office, you went radical on us. And that you went way out on the left limb and said and did some pretty stupid things.
I totally disagree with you, particularly that word.
That's a perception.
Particularly that word, stupid. You have to.
That's
it's a perception.
When you talk it here,
right?
People I know, they kind of thought you were like a clown on council.
That's
people
okay.
like Russ Jackson from Anderson Township.
But can I tell you something?
Go ahead.
Have you looked at most of the motions that I've submitted regarding the breakdown of the pension, the overtime of our police department? The tasing, the lawsuits, the litigation has brought us to almost bankruptcy. So as a financial planner, I'm on council talking to lawyers, many of them who cannot balance their own checkbook, trying to explain to them basic finances. And that's the problem on city council. So the elephant in the room when you are on council is the police budget and the fire budget.
Why do you think the voters?
Of it. But let me share this with you. When I was elected to council, the Thanksgiving prior to my being sworn in, Nathaniel Jones was killed. It was the 17th or 18th in custody death that happened. And so my swearing in around December the 4th or December the 5th, I am inheriting a major problem. And our chief of police came in, and I thought he handled it, in my opinion, terribly at that point. I think he was on TV saying this was a great takedown, that nothing could have been done any better. We're looking at another citizen, and the city still has not settled that lawsuit. That lawsuit is still pending. It's going to be another huge settlement for the city, just like the Owensby's case was another huge settlement. What I can tell you is that the collaborative agreement has done so much for our Cincinnati Police Department. The culture is a lot better. I think the FOP president, Kathy Harrell, I think she does a wonderful job.
She's hung up on me repeatedly.
I think she's a great American.
She
I don't
needs
know
to
about her
apologize
relationship
to me.
I don't. Well, I'll.
Can we tell her twice you hung up on me? Now, to complete this point before.
Let me just say that.
It's radio. I got to take a break.
I know the culture of the police department has moved, and I give Stryker some credit for changing, meaning as the head of the organization, he's made some good decisions to say we're going to change how we do business. And that's why there's a petition in front of you saying I don't want the police department to be merged with the sheriff department or fire 1,050 police officers and merge them with Simon Lee's because of the 10 years of progress that we have with our Cincinnati
that's your
Police
guy,
Department.
Wendell Young. But on that point, it is somewhat rare to be on council and lose. You finished like 5th or 6th, but you performed so poorly in that first term, you got kicked off council.
Well, I'm
thinking, You have to take responsibility. You had to have done something pretty bad to be kicked off council.
No, I accept when I'm not a person. Even when I run again, I'm not a conservative person. I'm not going down to be reelected. I'm going down to do a job. And many politicians don't approach their public service that way.
Because you got a real job. Unlike many down there, you have a real job.
I have my own private practice. I'm a small business owner. I'm a stockbroker. And you're right, I do very well at what I do. But what I'm sharing with you, Bill, is that if I run for council or mayor again, I'm not going to go there and worry about the next election. I think that's part of the problem.
Like
many of our elected officials are always talking about where they're going. Meaning I'm running and I'm going to run for Senate. I'm running for county commissioner. I'm running for Congress. And they use our city council as a stepping stone instead of saying, what are the best decisions for the city?
All right, let's
so I take the criticism.
And I promise when we continue, I got a lot of people that want to call in to take you to task. And I'll say, let them do it. And if I can find a call that would support you, I'll put them on too. Isn't that fair of me?
That's okay, Bill.
That's fair.
And something tells me I can handle the callers.
I bet you can.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue. My guest till 1:30 today is Chris Smitherman of the NAACP and more. And if you support Chris, please call in because most of the comments as far as some of these callers I have aren't necessarily in favor of Chris Smitherman running for council.
Thank God they're not voters in the city of Cincinnati.
I haven't got one from the. How about Mainville?
Look,
how about Harrison?
Look, thank God they're not voters and they don't live in the city of Cincinnati.
How about Wilmington?
Which means they're just projecting their opinions about where I live. That's pretty deep.
So if we can find somebody to support them, please call in. Because I want you to be heard, too.
Thank you.
All right, let's continue with more. And then coming up at 2:07, also live in the studio, is State Senator Bill Seitz on Senate Bill 5. And my Republican friends under my leadership have now reversed themselves, and they're going to keep public employee unions intact, which I say that's going to be news today. But I was told that by a state senator, that they're now changed. And it's because I think of me. Bill Cunningham, 700 WLW.
On the day I was born, the nurses all gathered round, and they gazed in wide wonder at the joy they had found. The head nurse spoke up, said, leave this one alone. She could tell right away that I was bad to the bone, bad to the bone, bad to the bone.
All right, Billy Cunningham, and by the way, the webcam is operating right now under the auspices of Russ Jackson. So if you go to 700WLW.com, you can watch it live. Of course, Chris is looking like a corporate lawyer there, and I'm looking like a common working guy, and each of us represent those interests.
Something tells me that you do very well, Bill. Let's just leave it there. Something tells me that.
Well, let's take. Are you willing to face the American people?
I'm a great American.
Well, you are a great American.
So I don't mind talking to Americans.
See, it's not going to be any more fun disliking you and making fun of you. It won't be any good anymore.
I want to talk to. Listen, I am an American, a great American, and I'd love to talk to Americans.
Well, let's go right now. We got Greg in Mainville, and then Daryl in Mount. How about a call from Mount Auburn? Auburn. How about that? We'll take one of those two. But I want to hear from Montana, Westchester, Mason, and Wilmington. Greg in Mainville, go ahead. You're on the Bill Cunningham Show with President Smitherman of the NAACP.
Mr. Smitherman, it is an honor to talk to you, and I think all of us who listen to Bill and Seg at the bottom of every hour want to know, where is Smitherman's vision taking us?
Can you give us an answer? Where is the vision? Give me the Smitherman vision for the city of Cincinnati. If you get elected to council again and then run for the mayor's position, where will the vision be?
Well, one is that we've got to balance the budget. So my priority, whether it's on council or the mayor, is to come up with a structurally balanced budget. So what I add to the team on council is my understanding of money.
And if 70% of the budget's firefighters and cops,
about 65%. Two-thirds.
But you got to have cuts there.
You don't. You don't. What you have to do is you have to reduce overtime. You've got to manage. You can't just give out overtime like candy. You can't spend $15 million and it be a part of the police officer's standard of living. You've got to bring that down. Number two, you can do this through attrition, meaning officers are retiring. You want to make sure those younger officers are taking over those positions. So this is not about firing police officers and firing firefighters. This is about, matter of fact, I'm going to surprise you here. What is going to revive the city is lowering the income tax.
Say that again. Did you say lowering?
I said lowering.
So your friends on council say increasing, like Cecil Thomas.
We need to bring that income tax from 2.1 to 1.7, 1.6.
Say that again. Chris Smitherman is in favor of lowering taxes.
Dramatically, because
sounds like Ronald Reagan.
That's one
George Bush.
Well, I don't know about that. All I can tell you is that
you're following Bush economic policies, which I like.
People will move into the city. We would be more competitive with the region if that income tax was much lower.
Let me give you an example. We're here. Can you see us right here?
I see you.
Down there, Cincinnati. We were in Cincinnati for like 12 years.
Yep.
One of the reasons we left.
Income tax.
Income tax.
No question.
We pay here zero.
So much money.
You were in here too. You liked no income tax, didn't you?
Well, I was still living in the city of Cincinnati, so I still was stuck paying it. So we have the reciprocity. You pay the difference. You know, if you live in Indian Hill, you live in the city, you pay the difference.
So Smitherman's vision would be lowering income taxes.
You have to lower them to be competitive.
I'm starting to like you more now. Those are Bush economic policies.
Number two,
I like that.
Number two, we've got to stop projects like the streetcar that take us off focus, meaning you've got to be able to focus. Number three, you've got to brand the city for what we are. We're trying to be everything. We are a family-oriented city. It's one of the most important things why people like Cincinnati. We're a city where we're about family, we're conservative. But I think that we're trying to act like we're something that we're not. And I'm okay. I moved back from Wheeling, West Virginia to the city of Cincinnati to raise my family and my kids.
And you have a bunch of them, don't you?
I've got 5 children, ages 15 to 2. So I have 4 boys and 1 girl. I think that we're too hard on all of Cincinnati public schools. I mean, there are some major reforms. So you're asking me, the vision is we've got to raise the standards of our school system because it's the number one reason why young people will live in the city, because they want to educate their kids and they want a safe place.
Would you agree with me?
So that the vision is spending a lot of time focusing in and partnering with Cincinnati public schools and raising the standard. And we've got to move away from the concept of every child left behind, meaning there are going to be children that are going to be left behind. You can't save the whole world. So you've got to set up an environment where children, being the number one priority, can learn and are safe. And that's going to, those basic steps will get young families moving into the city because they're not going to want to commute. You've got to make it worth their while to say, I don't want to live in Mason.
You want people from Anderson
Hamilton
Township to say, you know what, I could send my kids to Anderson High School, but I'd rather send them to Hughes.
I'd rather send them to Walnut. I'd rather them go to Clark. I'd rather them go to the School for Creative and Performing Arts.
If you get that done, we're a world-class city right there.
Now the last point is that we're the 6th most segregated city racially, and we've got to change that. So we've got to work to make sure that people are feeling comfortable living around everybody. Your story about your relationship with Attorney Gaines was very powerful. Everybody doesn't have a story like that. So we've got to create storylines where people are having get-us and people are talking that makes people much more comfortable.
Maybe I should come to an NAACP meeting and talk to them.
I would be honored.
I'll
hear
come.
that? You'd be honored.
I'll come to NAACP.
I want you to come to an NAACP meeting and talk to we usually have about 200 or 300 people. Matter of fact, we have a Cincinnati NAACP meeting tonight at 6 o'clock at Integrity Hall, which is located in Bond Hill.
Alicia Reese's place.
Alicia Reese's place. Senator Eric Kearney will be speaking. Yeah. John Harmon, who was beat up by the sheriff department. I don't know if you know him. You should bring him in and interview John. John's a middle-class African-American, has a small business, lives in Anderson, was going home, and has a diabetic. He probably was having a diabetic attack and really got beat up.
Maybe you can come
bad.
talk to the Butler County Sheriff's Association and Richard K. Jones.
You think they'll have me come out there?
Richard K. Jones, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Absolutely.
I'll be honored.
Because why not just, if I go talk, you and I can be a bridge between two different communities that have stereotypical, I bet Black Americans have stereotypical beliefs about me that are just false. Mm-hmm. Discriminatory behavior exhibited toward me all the time. Mm-hmm. And I like to help you get over that.
Well, I'd like to help you then get over. That's our that there's people thinking that I'm discriminating against someone.
Some people do.
Well,
be honest, you got a bad reputation among many people.
And you do too.
Me?
Yeah, Bill.
I don't know about
Bill,
that.
I think you like it.
No, I don't like it because I don't mind a person having an accurate opinion of me, but most people don't, especially whenever I meet an African-American, it's always very warm and generous. I've never heard anything negative from a black person about me at all. Mm-hmm. But I hear from other people, maybe like you, and Kabaka Abba used to tell me that some people don't like me, and I said that can't be true.
Well, I think that people have personas, Bill. If you read the Inquirer and think you know Christopher Smitherman, that's just not right. I mean, you can't read a newspaper and say, I know this person and this is their position. I mean, most people don't know that I've been married 20 years. They don't know that I have 5 children.
You're like a normal person.
They don't know that I was raised Catholic at Bellarmine Chapel, 9 o'clock Mass, was an altar boy.
Arate frates, I was an altar boy.
Oh, my goodness. Now, my
Did a priest ever do anything with you?
No.
Me
Our family priest, Father Ben Armstrong, and this is, and I look back on it, in the 1970s, he's taking us to weddings, mostly all-white weddings, and he has 2, my brother and I, were in these weddings as his altar boys. That was pretty radical back then, having 2 African-American altar boys. But a lot of things, my point is that people think they know you, and they don't know you.
Well, Les Gaines tells me the story that when I was hired by him and spent years with Les Gaines and Debbie Gaines, that blacks would say to him, why'd you hire that white guy? He took the job of a black lawyer. And Les said, well, I wanted to hire a person I thought was most qualified, and it's good to get some diversity in the firm. And so that's why it happened. So I've been victimized by racial discrimination by African Americans.
But you're going to come to the Cincinnati NAACP meeting, right?
I'll tell the stories.
We're going to keep expanding the ghetto. And number 2, I'm speaking to the young Republicans on Monday, the 28th. That's the first. I'm going to speak to the young Republicans. I was invited.
Really?
So it keeps.
Let's get you to Wilmington. Let's get you to Anderson Township.
It keeps expanding, huh?
Let's get you to Butler County.
I'm actually going to show some Republicans how to show restraint with the budget, because I think the
Republicans need it.
I think the Republicans have been a little out of control with their spending bill.
Republicans commit fiscal misdemeanors, Democrats felonies.
I think that was part of the birth of the Tea Party, right? Saying that the Republican Party
has lost its way.
Has lost their way. They were not financially on top of their game. And it seems like any party that's controlling, no matter if it's all Democrats, if it's all Republicans, you end up with politicians spending a lot of money.
You're not as radical as I thought. You're almost a normal Reagan Republican supporting Bush policies.
I don't. The last
it's
piece.
Wonderful.
It's the last piece about the Bush policies that I can't.
Well,
I can't,
Bush policy
I can't take that step.
To cut the income tax a little bit because it causes more money to come into the Treasury and incentivizes more economic activity.
I don't agree with the war in Iraq. But however, I do agree with the estate taxes being expanded to Americans so that the exclusion, which I think this is something positive. See, I can give you something positive about Bush. I want you to give me something positive about Obama. But that the $600,000 exclusion that ultimately was moved to $5 million per person, I think was a great thing, and I think that it should go up a little higher. I don't think that people. We're collecting signatures for the state tax to be eliminated. The death tax. To be eliminated.
Like that. Now you're talking.
But a lot of people don't understand.
You're growing in this job. You're growing.
No, it's not. This is where I am. This is.
But the media, you're like a caricature, a clown.
Listen, that's Cincinnati for you. And I said, I hear you repeating it here, and I'll say it again. If people,
we're not going to do that again. Russ Jackson has told me that will not happen again.
Okay. So
it's the promise I made to Mike Allen when he had the affair with the girl. I quit playing the cuts, and those aren't going to be played anymore.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm trying to say to you is that where I am financially, Bill, is where I was on council, and that makes like that pension. If you go back and look at the roll of the tapes in 04 and 05, it was so clear that we had an $80 million hole then, and we now have a $1 billion hole. It's because the public officials want to kick the can down the road in order to get elected instead of rolling their sleeves up and dealing with the problem.
I'm going to take a break.
All right.
But
I've talked your ear off.
Do you agree that the Bush policy in Gitmo, which is being continued by Barack Hussein Obama, is a good thing?
No.
Do you agree that
I don't agree with Obama on everything either.
Afghanistan, Bush had a policy in Afghanistan of 25 to 30,000 American soldiers. Obama's put in 100,000. He's the Bush policy on steroids in Afghanistan. Do you agree with Obama on that?
I think we should pull out of Afghanistan. No.
So Obama's wrong on war. How about the rendition policy, which is taking prisoners, Al-Qaeda, and giving them over to foreign countries to be tortured? And according to the Department of Defense, Obama is continuing the Bush policy on torturing prisoners in foreign lands.
Absolutely disagree. I don't agree.
Is there anything Obama's done you agree with then?
Yes, I share with you one of his biggest public policies. I think his treaty was excellent. I think the healthcare initiative,
a disaster.
I think it was excellent.
Disaster. Well, let's take a break. Let's take a break. The Get a Summit continues at 2:06 today. Senator Bill Seitz is here. The Republicans in Columbus are allowing now collective bargaining.
Oh, wow.
Because of me. And I'll tell you the story after this on 700 WLW. The NAACP has certain petitions out. The one most interesting to me is the streetcar. So where can people get copies of this, circulate them, or sign them?
They can call us at 281-1900, 281-1900. That's the number to the Cincinnati NAACP. They can go by right now at 4439 Reading Road, which is in Bond Hill.
But you got to live in the city, right?
You have to live in the city to sign it, but you can circulate it no matter where you live. So if you don't want to see a streetcar and you live in Mason, they can actually circulate it to their friends and family who live in the city. They can't sign it.
You got to be a voter in the city of Cincinnati.
Voter in the city of Cincinnati. And we need about 8,500 good signatures to make it happen. And if citizens want to change what's happening around them, they have to engage by signing the petition.
Sure. Derek in Wilmington, the home of the Fighting Quakers. Derek, welcome to the Bill Cunningham Show.
Yes, Willie. Hi, Chris. I have a question for you, Chris, about back in the last election. I don't know if you're familiar with the New Black Panthers. The Obama administration would not try them, and they had overwhelming evidence of voter intimidation in Philadelphia. And I was wondering what you thought about that, sir.
Well, anytime you have anybody intimidating people to participate in the political process, it's bad. It's an easy answer. I'm not familiar with all the details.
This is what happened. They were in a Philadelphia polling place. There were two members of the Black Panther Party dressed up in Kabaka Aba military attire. They had clubs in their hands, and they're telling people who are all African-American walking in to vote that you have to vote for Obama, no crackers permitted. And Eric Holder and Obama did not consider that to be voter intimidation. If the same thing had happened, let's say in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, a couple wizards of the Ku Klux Klan were in front of a polling place with clubs, saying,
which they
have been.
Thank you for that acknowledgement.
And those guys should
been.
have been locked up,
right?
And these guys got a Texas El Paso because they were black.
It's wrong. Anytime you intimidate a voter to participate. This is why we're involved with the Hunter Williams case, because we believe that people showing up at the right church or the right polling location and voting at the wrong precinct, those votes should count. So we're consistent. Voter intimidation, Jim Crow laws, all of that kind of stuff is wrong.
No matter what color does it.
No matter male, female, or what color.
It looks like the blacks got a free pass because Obama being black is what many people think.
I think they think that, but I don't agree with that.
All right, lastly, you were talking off the air to Kathy Harrell. Head of the FOP's hung up on me repeatedly.
Kathy Harrell, in my opinion, is a great American. And I'm going to have I'm going to work on a geta between you and Kathy Harrell, the president of the FOP.
Well, there's peace breaking out.
She has done a fabulous job, Bill. There has been no FOP president that has reached out in honesty, comes to our meetings like you're going to come, talks to our membership about what's going on in the city, telling us where we agree and where we disagree. So it's an honest relationship. We don't always agree on everything, but she has provided the best leadership that we've experienced in a lifetime. So, I mean, I really like what Kathy is doing, and I think that she's hung up on you. I mean, repeatedly, you're saying that, and I'm saying that we're going to work through that.
Would you ever hang up on somebody that, and I wasn't doing anything, I was telling I disagree with you, and she hung up on me twice on the air and embarrassed me in front of my own people?
I very rarely hang up on someone
unless they deserve it.
But I can tell you, yeah, unless they deserve it.
Well,
it's rare, but I think we can work it out, right, Bill?
I'm willing to meet with almost anybody, and I'll meet with her because she's a cop, and I'll meet with her. But I want to thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Some people enjoyed the fight, like Jeff Henderson and Brian Combs and Russ Jackson. I enjoy peace more than war, and having met you for the first time about a month ago and having you on the air, you're not the left-wing radical I thought.
Thank you, Bill, for having me. I want you to. First of all, I've enjoyed our getting to know you. Some of the things that I specifically like. You're married. You've been married a long time.
42 years.
You have
one
child.
I'm aware of.
Right. You're a small business owner. I didn't even know you owned the
Willie's and Great American.
Yeah, the restaurants. You know that stadium deal was an absolute.
I may have supported it in the beginning. I might have.
We've got to ask the Bengals to go to L.A. It's time.
Please.
It's time for them to go. Right. So we found some common ground there, and what I want you to work on is my friends at City Council to not fire 1,050 police officers. Now, I want to understand at some point in our relationship how that's not defined as anti-cop. All right. I never fired a police officer. They want to fire all of them.
I think Cy Lease is a little liberal sometimes for me. And so giving him some of the cops is not a bad deal. But we'll see. But can we make this almost like an annual event?
Absolutely.
Chris Smitherman.
Than't you so much for the time.
I never
really
thought I would
appreciate
ever
it.
say this. Chris Smitherman, you're a great American.
Thanks, Bill.
Let's continue.